Hi. Hopefully all the technology is working. I'm a few seconds late. It's Amanda. We're talking about dirty jobs and the job market. What's happening? So you need to stick with us tonight. It's going to be a jam-packed edition. I've got my why hat on because I'll tell you why. And so if you're joining us for the first time, welcome to my channel. We speak about all kinds of things that are happening in the world that affect you: jobs, retirement, money, living alone, living in a relationship, all kinds of things. Hello, Janice. Lovely that you joined us. Here I am. I'm here in Italy. You're all over the world. Janice is in France. Hope lots of other people are going to join us. I didn't advertise the day before as I usually did, but let me just give you some indication of what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to cover artificial intelligence and how it's affecting many, many jobs and what that means for you, your children, your grandchildren, and the job market and what's happening with unemployment. We're going to cover the situation in the States. We're going to cover Europe. So we're going to talk about work and the idea that many people would like to work online. They would like to be remote workers and what that means for the industry and how many jobs are going to be taken away by artificial intelligence, which is happening as we speak. So let's get to it. What I want to know from you guys, if you're joining me for the first time, won't you go down in the comments when you watch this back later or now, if you want to put your city, and tell me if you're joining for the first time. So thanks for that. Right, let's get to it. So I've been watching quite a few channels this week, and I've been astounded to learn that there are 7 million young men unemployed. What does that mean? There, I hope you can see this. 7 million. 7 million young men. By young men, I mean men between the age of 19. Can you see that? 7 million. 7 million young men. We're going to focus on men tonight because traditionally the man, if you go back a couple of years, not so long ago when I was in my 20s, men were the ones that led the job market. So these 7 million young men, this is America, by the way, I'm talking about. The stats that I'm quoting tonight, all the sources will be down in the description box. So if you're thinking, where did she get this information from? Did she suck it out of, I don't know, Wikipedia? No, I do my research well. I don't talk about things that aren't true, and I don't talk about things I don't know what I'm talking about. I know this because I spent 2 decades here in Italy training young people for the job market. So this has been my role, and I have met lots of young people, most of whom did a degree and most of whom couldn't get a job in that degree, in that university qualification that they studied for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, maybe. And so I assisted them because obviously they were in their second language, and I assisted them with interviewing skills in English to get a job. So based on that, I know a lot about what I'm talking about in this market. So what are these 7 million young men doing? Well, most of them are sitting on a couch in their parents' house or an apartment financed by their parents in some way, aided by their parents, helped by their parents. Why is this such a bad thing? I'm making no judgment calls here. We're just talking about this situation. How have these 7 million young men come to be in this situation? So a lot of them, let's take away 25% of them who may be sick, who may be suffering from some mental health challenge, may be very deeply depressed and need to be resting and can't possibly work. Let's take away 25% of them immediately. And so let's just look at those who can work, who are able-bodied, who could work. Why aren't they working? So they have a device. We all carry a a very powerful computer around in our pockets in the form of a phone, and they are playing video games, they are playing Xbox, they are sitting on a couch, a lot of them are smoking weed, and this could all be fine. I mean, why should I care? Why should you care if 7 million young men in the States are unemployed? And really, in the research that they did, the interviews they did with them, have no interest in getting a job and have no idea how their life could change or get better. They have no prospect of finding a girlfriend. Most of them are using the internet for their gratification. I don't want to go into too many details because YouTube will block me for my channel anyway. And they have no prospect of finding a girlfriend or wife, which they would like to have. They are basically hopeless. They've given up hope. How did we arrive at this point? Okay, so let's look at these young men. We'll get to the girls later. So they're sitting on a couch. They are watching stuff on YouTube, just like you are right now. A lot of them maybe have dreamed of starting a channel. They've started a channel, they failed. It's jolly hard work. Ask me how I know. Or maybe they started some endeavor. Maybe their parents lent them a bit of money. They started some kind of online thing and it just didn't work. When I'm relaxing, when I'm not doing one of my many physical jobs, I watch quite a lot of crime channels. I always have, because I love the stories. I particularly love the investigation part of it, the prosecutorial part of it, the court scenes. I've always loved this kind of narrative. So that's how I relax. And the growth of this part of YouTube is so huge. I'm sure many people also do the same. Okay. And so one of the things I've noticed is there's quite a lot of murders in young couples that maybe it was happening in the past, we didn't know about it, but it seems to be growing enormously if we are to believe the police and the prosecution service. And one of these, I'm getting to my point, is that young men who were deemed very successful, who were online trading. So they had an online trading, they left their job, whatever their job was, and online trading, they got put into that. Somebody advertised to them. They thought, oh, this is a great thing. I can do online trading. I'm going to do online trading. And they set up small and then got bigger and bigger. Okay. Most of these young men who went on to murder their wives for the insurance money, or just so that they didn't get divorced and lose everything, had failed miserably on online trading and were hiding the hole the money hole they were in by running up their credit card to the max and doing whatever they could, borrowing money from parents or whatever. And of course everybody enabled them because they were so successful. He's smart, he's brilliant, he's an online trader. So online trading has been a huge incentive for young men in particular. I'm not saying women don't go into this. We'll cover that later. So what is this online trading? What is this Bitcoin generation who talk about, Bitcoin and just trading stuff online and not going out and getting a job? The idea that you can sit at home in your pajamas all day and not even brush your teeth and just rock up and... Okay, for those that are working hard on a YouTube channel, maybe you do have to put out at least once or twice or 3 times a week. But hey, you can, you can't see my whole house. My house happens to be very orderly because I like it that way. But when you watch a YouTuber, you've no idea what's going on in the background. I mean, there could be bodies in the bedroom, literally. And we've seen this happen on YouTube, a young woman living in vans and getting murdered by their boyfriends. So I don't want to go very dark here, but I simply want to say to you, these are statistics. I'm not just fetching this out of the air. So these men that were online trading or Bitcoin trading or doing whatever they blockchain, all of this stuff, the idea was, and it's a revolutionary idea, and I'm talking to you online, so I'm not immune to this. Having worked 40 years of my life physically in front of somebody, doing something manually with my hands, or at least with my brain, with another person in front of me or a team in front of me. I'm not working online, okay, but I'm on the retirement end of things. And so how did this idea come about that we could all remote work? Well, let's go back to the pandemic. Remember the pandemic? Right. The pandemic was 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, we were locked into this thing and we started to think, maybe I could work online. Maybe I could work online. And so that's what we did. We started working online. We thought, if I could be remote, why would I have to go back to work? Why should I ever go back to work? So we started it and maybe we quite liked it. Maybe some of us are bored out of our cotton picking minds. And many people started the YouTube channel during the pandemic and grew their audience exponentially. And then after the pandemic was over, they said, look, I've got my successful YouTube channel. Maybe I'll make another channel on another niche. I'm not going back to the workplace, that's for sure. And so they didn't. I saw a statistic that astounded me. Only 7% of federal workers in the States, that really does read 7%, only 7% of federal workers in the United States went back to work after the pandemic. We're 4 years on. So that gives you some idea. So we know for a fact that the online world has revolutionized the job market. So if I'm telling you that 7% of federal workers went back to work in the States after the pandemic, and that 7 million young men are unemployed and on the couch with a device in their hand, actually 7.2 million to be precise. And as we said, let's eliminate the 25% of them. 25% of them maybe are sick or depressed and they can't work. So let's say that, let's call it 7 million or 6.5 million are depressed and they can't work. Why is this happening? And what is AI going to do about it? So artificial intelligence, for those of you who just heard the word and don't really care about it or don't really know about artificial intelligence, just about most of all of the jobs that could be done online, and I'm going to read you a list of them. My job, for example, teaching a language can now be done by artificial intelligence. Writing, all kinds of writing, content writing, screenplay writing, teaching at a university on a particular subject, whether technical, scientific, or in the arts, can be done via artificial intelligence. And right now, programs are being done. All the kind of advertising, every single thing that doesn't require you to be in the room with the service. So you're providing a service, right? But it doesn't require you to be in the room with the person. We are in the age of technology where there are driverless cars, literally, because somebody decided, okay, but we're so clever, we're so bright, but we still need an Uber driver to drive us around. Well, let's invent driverless cars. They are here. They are already circulating. So what is AI or artificial intelligence going to do to the job market? Well, let me tell you. So a lot of these 7.2 million, or let's call it 7 million young men who are sitting at home on the couch and have been for many years, who have no hope, who when asked don't believe they will ever marry or have a long-term girlfriend, have no hope, and they're not interested, they don't want to. Now, For those of you who are parents and those of you who aren't even parents, um, imagine the sheer force, the sheer magnitude, for want of a better word, of the male libido between the ages of 18 to 40. Let's keep it from 18 to 40. Okay? Young men. I mean, if you could bottle the force of the libido and the interest in all things sexual and physical in that age group of males, it's a force of nature. And imagine that something has made these young men literally sit on the couch with a device in their hand and not be interested in that reality, literally. It's a sad state of affairs. There are lots of podcasts talking about this. I'm not advocating that young men are above young women or anything else. I'm simply using these stats to show you and to because they fascinate me. And I've been having discussions around this in the groups in which I operate on LinkedIn, because as I mentioned, I've spent a couple of decades helping young people to get into the job market and helping young people who need to acquire a second language so that they can interview. And so I coached on what used to be Skype and all the other platforms, WhatsApp, so that they could interview in the language because they would have an online interview. When last if you're a young person watching me, did you go for a physical interview? In other words, in front of the person. All the interviews are done online. And that will be another skill, talking about AI replacing jobs. That will be another job that will be very easily replaced. Yes. Interviewing, everything revolving around the job market, job placement, all of that can be done by AI. The training of it, all of the interviews, all of this can be done by AI. When you sit and watch YouTube, are you aware that many of the scenes that you see, let's say you're watching a beautiful video about Italy, so many people watch beautiful scenes in Italy, of Florence, and you saw over the city and you have this beautiful aerial view and you think, wow, this YouTube is amazing. They must have an amazing team and a drone, and they're showing me an aerial view of Paris or Florence or whatever you're watching. No, they've just gone online and they've bought an AI package, and the AI package will allow you to edit a video together with all the scenes that you want. You never need to get off your couch. You can edit a video and get all of the stuff inside a package, inside something like, there are hundreds of them, but many people use Canva, many people use AI programs. And one of the new jobs that are happening online that are being advertised on Facebook as we speak are Facebook ads. People who make Facebook ads to bring people in. So it may be that they're trying to sell a new AI tool, a new AI platform that they want people to buy into because they need to capitalize. They need to reach, 5 million users or 50 million users or eventually 100 million users, and then they can raise capital against that and they can become huge. Let's look at what's happened since the pandemic. Now, even before the pandemic, Jeff Bezos, who's the owner of Amazon used to be an annoying thing where we bought some books if we didn't feel like going to a bookshop, right? Okay. And then came, and then they went ahead and you could buy your book on Amazon and you could review. I published both my books on Audible on Amazon years ago. And they had self-publishing and they had published books via big publishing houses, and you could get any book you wanted on Amazon. And then you could get podcasts, and then you could get Audible, which, as you know, is basically a talking book, often read in the author's voice. And that was Jeff Bezos. And Jeff Bezos exploded. And so started something called drop shipping. And many young people would have an Amazon store inside Amazon. So when you go to Amazon.com, if you're in the States, or Amazon.it if you're in Italy, or Amazon.fr if you're in France, that you're probably going to somebody's shop that they've set up inside Amazon. You're not ordering just from Amazon. They're not going to a warehouse in Texas, in Austin, and saying, oh, we better send this black tea to Janice in France. No. All of that stuff is being sold by somebody who holds their shop inside the Amazon platform. And you're buying it from his platform, and he may compete with some other Amazon sellers, and you look at the price difference and you can immediately compare between 10 different sellers. That one's €2 less for exactly the same thing. And then you have Prime. And so the big money came from Prime. Prime means that you can have all the access that you have on now Netflix, but you can have all those movies, all those podcasts, all of that. And the sole reason I got Prime during lockdown, I signed up for Prime because you can have something delivered anywhere in the world the next day. So if you're a Prime member, and I'm not selling Prime, I'm not sponsoring Prime, I'm simply telling you how the world has changed and what jobs there are available. So one of the things you could do is set up an Amazon shop, and many did, drop shipping. They would get something wherever it was, any device, everything that you have, this little tablet, your phone, your cord, your ring light, every little piece of device that you get, you've ordered from somewhere. And it's been sent from China, drop shipped, they hold it, and then it's sold inside Amazon. Jeff Bezos just gets trillions more euros by the year. But lockdown really showed us that Amazon, we couldn't run our lives without Amazon then. I was ordering stuff on Amazon that I used to go to the hardware shop for. I ordered cosmetics on Amazon. I ordered detergents to do my washing. And there was even Fresh. And Fresh in Amazon was you could do all your groceries via Amazon, have it delivered the next day, free. And so people started shopping on Amazon left, right, and center. Even people who said, I don't want to make Jeff Bezos richer than he is. I mean, he's so rich now that, you know, when the inauguration happened 2 weeks ago, he was standing right there with his girlfriend who showed her whole goodies online. But the point is that is the kingdom that we live in. So Jeff Bezos launched Fresh. And so now you can basically live in your house, never go out, providing you have enough money, or your parents' credit card, or your own credit card, or somebody's credit card, and you don't ever have to leave your house. You don't. You sit on the couch all day if you want, providing you have enough money to go on Amazon, order what you want. And not only Amazon, we then have Temu, which is huge, another Chinese company. TikTok got launched. Instagram. Most people sell on Instagram. People think Instagram's just a place where you go and you show, oh, this is my new handbag. Look at my new lipstick. Isn't it pretty? It's so red. I love it. So you do a little clip of you putting on the red lipstick. You get 1 million new views. But then you sell that lipstick because it's promoting your company. So then it takes you to a link on Spotify, and you have your own shop there, or Amazon, wherever, and you buy that red lipstick. Okay, great. So how is AI going to change our lives? And more importantly, how is AI going to change our children's lives? So as I just said, let's get to dirty jobs. What is a dirty job? Let's quantify a dirty job. A dirty job is anything you do with your hands. So you might think a dirty job is cleaning up sewage, very profitable. pumping some kind of oil, gas, some liquid, working on the oil rings, very dirty job. Working as a deep sea trawling fisherman, very dirty and dangerous job. But no, anything that you do that physically involves you getting out of your house, putting on your clothes, getting in a car, or getting on your bicycle, or using your feet and going to a physical job is a dirty job because you can't do it remotely. And these are the jobs that during the pandemic were suddenly extremely highly paid because we needed them. We couldn't live without them. We couldn't do everything on Amazon. We couldn't literally have somebody operate on us via AI, but that's also coming. Operations via robotics have been happening for some years. They're going to get more. Okay. So, working as a barista is a dirty job. Working in any service industry is a dirty job. It's tough. You get up in the morning and you go there and you serve people all day. Maybe you get tips, maybe you don't get tips, depends on the contract. If you're in Europe, you don't get tips. You work on your basic salary and you serve people all day. You then go home exhausted, start the next day again, and you might do double shifts to earn money. There are lots of people in America, Europe, all over the world, literally working to make ends meet to get to the end of the month. Some of them are even living in their cars. And what they do is serve people food and drink, right? Or serve people other stuff. They might be working in a dry cleaning shop and working the dry cleaning. They haven't worked out how to get AI to wash your dirty linen if you're living in a big city like New York. But let's look at the average young person in New York who's successful. They order in food. I spoke about how intimately I know the young generation because I've been teaching them, dealing with them, working on their careers for 3 decades. So many, and Italy included in here, of young women who would always know how to cook in my generation because they were taught by their mothers, don't know how to cook, and more importantly, have no intention of ever learning how to cook. So they order in. They might order in every single day. And you've heard of Deliveroo and all the, Uber Eats, all of these bicycles that you see all over Europe. That's a dirty job. Somebody, and it's normally an immigrant who's doing it, is delivering food to the professional, sitting online in their remote job, ordering their Chinese takeout, ordering their curry, whatever. That is a dirty job, delivering food, making food, cooking food. So if we look at the millennials and Generation Z, who came after baby boomers, what are these millennials and Generation Z, or Z if you're not American, what are they doing? What are these 7 million who's sitting on the couch, these young men, how are they making their money? Well, as I mentioned, they either are working online and not being very successful at it, or they are ill, or they have just given up hope, but they're still ordering in food. They're ordering in not only food, they're ordering in devices. And if they're not earning any money themselves, they may get unemployment. There was a study done in Italy not so long ago where they released something called cittadinanza, that if you were unemployed, you could get this amount. Let's say it was €800, close to €800. And it completely demotivated a whole lot of young people who thought, why should I go out and be a barista or a server or whatever? I don't know, a babysitter for want of a job, when I can just ask for cittadinanza. So they then revised it to be, it has to be somebody who's handicapped and over 65 or whatever. Okay, but let's get back to dirty jobs. Because the idea that a dirty job is plumbing, welding, all of the skills that are what used to be called non-academic. So the role is that you wanted your children to not suffer the way you are. I'm speaking as a baby boomer, and I'm talking to the baby boomers in the room right now. I know so many people who worked extremely hard in their lives from the age of 16 right up to when they finally could retire or not retire because they couldn't afford to, who did not want their children to suffer the way they did. And that's a noble thing. That's a very noble thing. But it's something I don't understand. Let's take David Beckham. So David Beckham is one of the most famous footballers, UK based, born in UK, then became famous for his modeling contracts with Armani and all the contracts he did as a famous footballer. Okay. But he got up every day as a young boy who grew up in a very normal family, sort of lower middle class family, got up every day. They took him to his practice and he fought and fought and fought and fought and did all those football matches, played football, sweated, and got home exhausted after school for years and years and years until he was selected by a club. And then he went to under 19, and then he got into his first club, and then he went to Manchester, and then he was traded, and so it went. Then he went to Spain, and eventually he landed up when he was on the other side of 25, which is about when your career is almost over as a footballer, when you're about 30. He went to Los Angeles, married a young girl from his town who was also quite famous because she was a pop star. They went to Los Angeles and their lives exploded because suddenly they could take that famousness, which in England was being thought of as, oh, well, you're a washed up footballer. And they are billionaires. Okay, fine. But David Beckham is a good case in point because David Beckham didn't want his 4 children to go through what he did. He didn't want his children to wake up when it's dark in the morning, catch a bus, probably be bullied on the way to school, find lunch money, go to school, go after school and play sport, or go after school and get a job and do hard manual labor so that you could actually finish school and then hope to get a better job. And maybe if you were extremely lucky and your parents had money, go to university. But David Beckham's generation, which let's call the millennials and maybe just slightly before millennials, they don't want their children to go through what they went through. And this is something I don't understand. All the qualities that you have came from the struggle of having to do a job, working hard, putting by your pennies to pay your rent, putting by your pennies to go out on a date night on Friday so you could go to McDonald's and spend 10 euro, whatever. And now you just want to give your children everything. And what is the result of this generation of pre-millennials giving their children everything? Because remember, their parents were the baby boomer generation who apparently had everything handed to them. The property market was strong, and they had this residual income that they could enable their children. And now we're on those grandchildren. So in 2008, the bottom fell out of the financial markets. The property market went to hell. I'm going to have a sip of my tea. Very good tea. And the housing crisis, the real estate market fell out. Big hole created. The worldwide crisis, financial crisis. Suddenly, those baby boomers who maybe had 2 properties and they were helping their kid with 1 property saw their income halved, or some of them lost all their money because their money was invested in the stock market or invested with some strange investor who stole all their money. And they couldn't help their children. Maybe they had more than 1 child. Maybe they had 4 children. They couldn't assist them as they were in the past. And so what happened was suddenly we reached the first crisis, that the generation that came after the baby boomers, so in other words, people who were at school in the 70s, so people who were born from 1981 on, millennials, 1980 onwards, millennials, Their parents wanted to give them everything. Okay? So if we look to Italy, a lot of the young people that I've helped, it became part of the social fabric of Italy that if you could send your child to university, you did. And you could send your child to university because this is not America. It doesn't cost 400,000 to educate your child to be a doctor or a dentist or engineer. It doesn't. It's just about free to send your kid to university in Italy, and not only Italy, most of Europe. But that wasn't the case for my children. My children went to university and college in South Africa. It cost a fortune. Yeah. My daughter, on her second degree, her first degree, she went to film school and eventually worked out that she would be editing a lot, working online, just editing films. Didn't really thrill her. She used all her skills, got a great corporate job as a brand ambassador for some of the big fashion brands. She was doing very, very well. And one day she woke up and said, I don't really like this job. I don't like it. I'm going to go back to university. I'm going to use my brain. And by now she was, early 20s. And so she had to pay for her degree because, that's how it was. And she worked as a waitress every single moment that God gave. She put her money aside so that she could actually go back and get a university degree in clinical psychology, which is what she wanted. She wanted to be a clinical psychologist. She wanted to be in practice. She didn't just want to do a liberal arts degree. She wanted to do something in which she could make a profession. And eventually she was the restaurant manager and she worked like the Dickens to get that degree. Cost a fortune. And then in her second, third, fourth year and her honors, she managed to get a government bursary because of her marks. But she had to pay back that loan. And the way she paid it back was she had to work for the government afterwards in a state hospital, in a state institution. Okay. But that is not the case in Europe. In Europe, you can study pretty cheaply. I mean, apart from your books and your tuition, in terms of lunch money, books and stuff, it's pretty free to study in Europe, most of Europe. Okay. It certainly is in France, Italy, Switzerland, most of the countries that I have to do with. Obviously, if you then want to do a postgrad and go to America, then, or you do your postgrad in England, then, you're not covered, but you can come up with 1 year's tuition. But what I'm trying to say is that these parents wanted to give their kids the best start in life, and why not? And so they did. And so we are now in the generation where the people who are going to be our future leaders, our future CEOs of companies, our future entrepreneurs, they were born in the 2000s. Yeah, they were born in the 2010s, not so long ago. And they were born with a cell phone in their hands, a smartphone in their hands. They have never known what it is to have to go and ask somebody to make a phone call. They've never known what it is to not be connected 24/7. In Italy, they hand it, certainly in junior school, they hand their smartphones and it's put in a box and then they get it during break time. But suffice to say that the people who are going to make the future decisions and the people who are in government now are the millennials forward. Okay, so all of them are computer savvy. All of them have grown up with Instagram and proving yourself on Instagram and doing all of that. Let's go back to the dirty jobs. They don't want to do heating technician jobs, another dirty job that makes a lot of money, plumbing, welding, mechanic. And so what's happening is these young men, these 7.5 million who's sitting on the couch at home, is that they're being also another blow to them and they're having a hard time. Let's spare them a thought. This is not a criticism of them. The girls are outstripping them in the STEM subjects We don't know why. This is a freak of nature. This is a DNA thing. We don't know. We can imagine. We do surveys. We don't know. But perhaps they're just driven in a certain in another way, and perhaps they're not completely focused, as we spoke about, by the libido, which dominates most boys' brains from the age of 18 to 40. So, what has happened to make these boys give up that amazing focus on the libido and sit at home on a couch with a cell phone and have no hope of finding a job? What has happened? And I'll tell you what's happened is that they were taught by their parents, by their schools, by their uh, employment counselors at school, that if you don't buck up, if you don't do your maths, if you don't do your homework, and if you don't wake up and start shaping up, you're going to land up turning a wrench at the car factory. You're going to land up turning a wrench, on some conveyor belt somewhere. You're going to land up working in Starbucks, passing coffee. And so these people have been brainwashed, these kids, let's call them kids, they're under 40. For me, they're kids, that any job that involves using your brain and not just, using your hands, dirty jobs, are terrible and actually a punishment. So having arrived means that you design a new computer game, fabulous, for the few, the 1% who manage, trading stocks online, day trading, which lands up most people in a hole. Again, 1% actually make any money. Most of the money is made in some kind of Ponzi scheme where the people bringing somebody in get paid to bring somebody in, right? So all of these Ponzi schemes that have been run via Facebook ads that, we'll make you a drop shipper, you'll make, I don't know, 50,000 a week. We'll make you a famous YouTuber, you do that and that. They're selling you a training program, and everybody that you bring in, then there's commissions down the line. So most of the money's been made in a Ponzi scheme, basically, is what it is. The amount of people who've ever made money day trading, again, is less than the 1%. And most of those people have the skills and the brain and the ability or the money behind them, another important thing that people ignore, to have made it in the actual financial markets trading. Okay? But that's not what they tell you. I can open Facebook right now, and I can open Instagram right now, and I can open TikTok right now. Well, I can't open TikTok because I don't have a TikTok account, but I see stuff every day. And I will see a million adverts for, why don't you want to be remote? Do you want to sit on a beach and have this beautiful life? Look, I've got cars, I've got gorgeous women falling at my feet. I travel the world and I day trade 2 hours a day, and all of this has come to me. It's absolute codswallop. Everybody knows that. But it doesn't matter, because for somebody who's given up hope, who doesn't want to work in Starbucks, who doesn't want to become a mechanic, who sees every job that involves physical movement or using your hands, or the service industries, nursing, all of that's dental technician, all of these jobs, they're nasty. You've got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. When I was going into Milan for 20 years, woke up, it was dark at 6 o'clock in the morning, got on the train, misty, cold, smelly, dirty people around me, people pushing bikes into me, fought to get a seat on the train, spent an hour getting into town, walked to work, which was, fog, rain, snow, whatever, got there, started my first session. Normally didn't even have time to go to the toilet between students that I was teaching, stuff I was doing, run to that university. I worked like a dog. And then after hours, I was working other tuition and coaching until about 8:30. Took the last train home, very dark, quite dangerous, because when I got to the other side, there were all kinds of layabouts. And as the years went on, there were more layabouts. And then I had a sort of 10-minute walk home in the pitch dark. And remember, in winter, it gets dark at 3:30, 4 o'clock maybe. Yeah, and I did it for years. And so you can understand why if somebody comes along and says, no, you can sit on the couch, we'll teach you how to do Instagram ads, we'll teach you how to be an Instagram influencer, and you can sell your makeup instead of just showing your red lipstick makeup on Instagram, boasting to your friends and showing your lovely life. No, we'll teach you how to sell these products. You can sell these jewelry products. We'll teach you how to be an Amazon drop shipper, but you're paying for that course. That's the advert, is to pay for this course for this person to teach you supposedly how you're going to have this job, and you're not going to need to make any more money, and you're not going to do what I had to do, get on a train and go, or get on your bicycle or use your feet and go to a job. But 1% of the people who ever want to work online actually are able to work online and actually make any money out of it. YouTube has so many million accounts, people who have channels, and most of them are just struggling along. Some of them are doing it for the fun and the hobby. And gee, that's how I started during lockdown. I had a channel years ago. It was monetized, and I got sick of talking about lovely things in Italy. Everyone's seen them, and there's a million AI channels doing a better job showing drone shots and taking you on a tour of Milan, and it's all artificial intelligence. Yeah, so I prefer having real conversations and helping people with their lives. So, okay. So remember the question, why? So the why of the situation is, why are these young people stuck? What is going to happen? What is happening? What is happening that we have a crisis in America where America is so divided? It has been for some time, with people who agree that illegal migrants who are doing the Uber Eats jobs, driving the Ubers, being nail technicians, looking after people's children, doing their laundry, doing their washing, I don't know, all the dirty jobs, yeah, manual jobs. What's going to happen if they all get sent back because they weren't here legally, they came illegally? Who's going to do those jobs? Well, my question is, it's a good question, who's going to do those jobs? All of those jobs have been removed from the market because they weren't considered nice jobs. They were considered dirty jobs. Babysitting, nursing, looking after old people, baking bread, working in a bakery, working in a delicatessen. If you look at the generation, it wasn't so long ago, immigrants who came into America from Italy, from all over Europe, all of them came and they did physical jobs, people selling pickles, running a delicatessen, running an Italian pizza restaurant, selling hot dogs, all of that stuff, doing people's facials, doing wedding services, all of this stuff. So many of these jobs have been relegated to the bottom of the rung. They are paid quite well, actually, in reality, but the young people don't want to do them because, as I mentioned, they have been told by their parents, who were the baby boomers, and some of them later than baby boomer, who said, I don't want my children to suffer the way I did. And I don't understand this, because what you've done is you've made them now sit on the couch because they don't see any job that they can do. And maybe they've tried to work online and not get their hands dirty, and it's not working for them. And they need more and more help from your credit card because they can't become rich online, even though they signed up for all these programs of day trading and, lying on a beach apparently twice a year on your parents' credit card, because it didn't work out. They couldn't become famous drop shippers. They couldn't become famous influencers on Instagram because they tried, and 1% make it. And usually they've got some kind of financial backing and they can afford to take the long game. And the same with YouTube. Okay. So where does it leave us if we have these young men who have no prospect of getting married, who have no prospect? Remember, that the other side of the coin, the young girls, a lot of them are outstripping them in the STEM subjects. They're going to university, they're studying more, they're doing other stuff. Why? And what are we going to do with these young men? What's going to happen to them? Because by the age of 40, I may be an exception, I think not. Most of the people I went to school with had 2 children by the age of 25. That changed. Just 10 years later, it became 10 years later. And now my daughter had her first child at 40. Everything's changed. I understand that. But the point is, these young men have tried and failed to make what they consider to be a decent life, a successful life, which is working online, launching a product online, making a new computer game online, and now they're playing on Xbox. A lot of them are depressed. A lot of them, the American and European and Australian, the whole world, pharmaceutical industry has profited from them because they're addicted to antidepressants, they're on oxycodone, they're smoking weed all day because their life is crap. Let's be frank. And why? Why? Why couldn't they, like their predecessors 2 generations back, study to be a mechanic if they couldn't get into university or didn't want to get into university? And let's be even more frank here. A lot of these kids are graduates. They chose a subject that maybe wasn't very needed, wasn't very employable, but you have to applaud them. They made the effort. They did an arts degree, maybe they did a degree like graphic design, and they weren't able to meld it into what's happening today because, as I mentioned, AI has taken all these jobs, all the writing jobs, the designing jobs, the interior design jobs, the how to teach a language jobs, how to teach someone how to sell jobs, the marketing jobs. These are all on AI. They can all be done better and cheaper. I'm looking at my Instagram account, which I've had since 2008, I think, 2008, 9. And really, I add maybe 10 new people because I've got my core of people I've been talking to for years. But I post some funny videos. I don't always post serious stuff. I don't sell anything on Instagram. But, people sell me stuff. People send marketing programs. People get me to join their community. But I've noticed how many AI accounts of cats doing amazing things. Cats on the catwalk, cats cooking, cats as emblems of, security, cats with Trump, dogs with Trump, all of the doing amazing stuff. They're funny. I mean, they're entertaining. And remember, people are just scrolling. All these people sitting on the couch, whether you're young, old, you're scrolling. We're spending an enormous amount of time just using our index finger or our thumb or, texting. And they're getting millions of views. They are AI accounts. But they're funny. I mean, they're great. So why should I watch a cat? I used to, 10 years ago, watch a cat, jumping against the window or chasing a laser pointer. And that was funny. It's not funny anymore because nobody's watching that. Those people have fallen away. The AI Instagrammers have taken over. There's a million new videos on Instagram of the big jets, the big A340 or whatever you call them, from Emirates and whatever. It's all AI. They have this huge, amazing special effects video of this jet taking off and the amazing music in the background, and you can play with all of the, the music to make it much more tech, much more influential, for sake of a better word. And it's all done with AI. But people don't know that it's done because a lot of people just believe that, oh God, somebody actually photographed this jet taking off. Look how amazing it is. It's all done on AI. So if you want to know which jobs are going to be around now and in 5 years' time, 90% of any job that you can do online or remotely will be taken by AI, and they can do it cheaper and better. I've seen this in my own industry. I physically, tomorrow, which is when I normally do this live, and that's why I'm not doing it today. I'm doing it on Saturday night because tomorrow evening I will be recovering from the vintage market. I make and sell vintage jewelry. I've done it for a few years. It's a physical way that I connect with people. I do something I absolutely love, and that's my kind of hobby. And we have a market once a month, and we have a market in another town, in another stage. But I do it once a month, and I absolutely love it. I meet amazing people, and I help them to make a selection of lovely jewelry that they adore from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, which is the period I like. This is a dirty job. Why is it dirty? I have to use my hands. I have to set up the table. I have to go there early. I've got to make all of this stuff. I can't sit at home in my pajamas. No, I've got to make an effort. I've got to put on some nice warm clothes, put on my thick socks, put on my boots, because I'm going to be standing outside for 14 hours, and then I've got to pack everything up, and I've got to bring it all home, and then I've got to unpack everything, sort it all beautifully on my table so that people can come up, and I'm going to engage in a conversation with them, and I'm going to sell them something, and then they're going to pay me, and I'm going to take that money, I'm going to put it in my wallet, and I give them what they wanted. That's a dirty job. Let me give you an example of another dirty job, being an estate agent. Okay, let's think what an estate agent has to do. An estate agent wakes up in the morning, they're probably on some commission structure with their boss, so their boss is pushing them. Come, we got targets this month, you got to sell. They've got to get out there with their signs, their boards in the back of their car. They've got to leave home early, leave their child, maybe for the babysitter to look after or their spouse to look after, and they've got to get in the car and they've got to drive because they're going to do a show house. And if they don't do a show house and they don't show up, they're not going to sell anything, and they're not going to have any money to eat at the end of the month. So that's another dirty job. You've got to physically go there. Then they've got to sit in the show house, make the show house look nice, maybe put out some flowers, maybe put out some muffins or whatever, so the house smells lovely when people come in. And they've got to pray and hope that their little video they put up on Instagram or their stuff they put up on Facebook saying, I'm doing a show house this weekend, please come. Their family are already sick and tired. Their family can't come because they're busy looking after the kids and they can't buy anything anyway. So they're just praying and hoping that people are going to see the sign that they put outside early in the morning, and they're going to come into the show house and they might have a chance to present this show house to them and maybe sell something. That's a dirty job. And then let's say that they get an offer, they work so hard, they phone the person, they follow up, they take them again to see the house, they get all excited, they're so excited because they desperately need the money to pay the rent, and then they're not sure if they want to buy, and eventually they get an offer, they've got to present the offer, they've got to make it all up, they've got to do all the documents, they've got to present it to their boss, he's going to say, okay, these people are going to buy. And then they get a phone call and there's nothing and there's nothing. And 2 weeks later, they hear, no, they bought somewhere else. They didn't even bother to phone you. It's a horrendous job. Yes, it's lovely when you do sell and it's lovely when the market's going in your favor. But there are lots of people who are doing this. They might be selling cars. They might be selling real estate. That's a dirty job. Physically selling something, not being remote. That can't be replaced by AI. Not yet. Eventually, when we have robots running in the streets and robots are selling jewelry and cars, okay. But at the moment, a dirty job is when you physically have to show up and actually do something. And so you can't be replaced by AI at the moment. So yes, all of those jobs. I remember when I first came to Italy and I encountered so many young graduates who had a degree. Remember, because it's so cheap that the government kind of sponsors studying, so it doesn't cost 50,000 a year or 100,000 a year as it does in the States to go to university, they churn out, I don't know, 100,000 new lawyers in Italy every year. They study law, or they study political science, or they study one of the favorites, philosophy. Who's going to employ you if you do a philosophy degree? I've spoken about this to so many young people. Well, maybe 1% out of 0.5% of a millionth chance you'll be a professor of philosophy at university. But who else is going to employ you if you've got but they churn out 1 million philosophers every year. And then there's the doctors. They always get a job because it's hard to get in. It's hard to spend 8 years and blah, blah, blah. And if they can't find the position they love in Italy, they can go somewhere else. But my point is this. I've always said to people who can't find a job, who maybe did a degree that, what I call a degree that's useless to man or beast, why didn't you study a heating technician? In all the years I've lived in Italy, which is 22 years, every single house by law, and I'm sure it's the same in the States, and it's certainly the same in France and most of Europe, every single house has to have the heating system checked and signed off. So the water boiler, the heater, the radiators, whatever you want to call them, has to be checked and signed off and serviced. So at the very least, if everything's gone absolutely perfectly, it costs you 120 euro. I've been paying this for years. Everybody does. You can't escape. So every single house, there are 60 point something million Italians in Italy. Let's say there's 40 million houses. Every one of those have to have that heating engineering check. You can, as an apprentice, you can understudy somebody who's a plumber, an electrician, and you can do the apprenticeship as our grandparents and parents did, and you can study, and the state will look after you, and all your studies will be covered, and you'll be paid not a huge salary, but within 6 years you can be living a great life. If you're a plumber, if you're a heating technician, if you did an apprenticeship, if you became a mechanic, there's a million of these jobs. And in Italy, there's all the artisanal jobs, woodworking, restoring ancient art, building, stonework, all of these jobs that are now considered dirty jobs. All of these jobs are needed, and they cannot be replaced by AI. And not only in Italy, around the world. I haven't seen a skyscraper yet being built by AI. It has all the trades in it. It has the engineers, the architects, the civil engineers. It has the people who do concepts, interiors, plumbing, electrics, stone, marble. I could go on for 2 weeks. All of that. All those jobs aren't replaceable. Maybe the design part, partially. They're all dirty jobs. They're all dirty jobs. And so these 7.5 million men who's sitting on the couch, smoking weed and who knows what else, pleasuring themselves, could be working on those jobs. But no, they've been sold the lie by their parents who said, I don't want my children to go through what I went through. I don't want my children to work hard. I don't want my children to go without anything. I'll give them whatever. I gave you the David Beckham example. I don't want my children to suffer at all. Great. Great if you're a celebrity and you have 1 million and you can help all your kids to become semi-famous, or just have enough money that they never have to do anything. But if you're not in that position and you're a normal middle-class person, why are you depriving your child the right to actually make a living? Because all of those jobs that were considered so great, that you could work online, that you could become a day trader, that you could start your own Shopify shop, that you could become an Instagram influencer or a TikTok influencer or a singer. Great, great. Lots of famous singers have been launched on TikTok and Instagram, but it's 1% of 1%. And hey, if you are talented enough, I wish you all the best. And I'm not saying you can't make it. You can. You can make it selling lipstick on Instagram if you're dedicated enough. Goodness knows, I know enough of them. I've seen them. They're friends of mine, quite a lot of them. But what I'm saying to you is the world is changing. And one of the crises is that countries that have a zero birth rate, that's Italy, Portugal, France, Spain, most of Europe, they've got a zero birth rate. Or, they're going backwards. When I came to Italy, Italy had 65 million people. 66, I think. It's now 60. So they are allowing immigrants to come in, yes, to do the jobs and to pay the tax in the future. Otherwise, the country can't. This is basic economics. So let's go back to this. Dirty jobs. Dirty jobs. All the ones I mentioned. Estate agency, service jobs, mechanics, heating engineer, all of these artisanal jobs, restoring paintings, jobs that involve a physical presence so that AI can't take your job, jobs that can be taken by AI, I refresh, all kinds of writing, screenplay, designing technologies, medical technology. This can all be replaced by AI. Film, marketing, editing, all be done by AI. Photography, selling in images, which used to be a great profession. It's all being replaced by AI. Publishing, it's all being replaced by AI. So if your job was always great because you could teach online, whatever your subject or skill was, it's all going to be replaced by AI. Language teaching has already halved the number of jobs because people are learning languages via AI. There's just a computer repeating the stuff and you're repeating it. Do I think it's wonderful? No, I don't. But this is reality. We deal with reality on my channel. Remember the question, why? Why is this happening? It's happening. And so the 7.5 million young men I spoke about who are sitting on the couch without hope of getting a job and not knowing what to do, what are we going to do about them? What are we going to do about the fact that it was announced this week that the federal jobs, only 7% of federal employees went back after the pandemic? They all decided, no, we'll just work from home. This can't go on. So anyway, I want to know from you. Drop down there. Let me know which city you're watching from. I want to know your opinion. Have you adopted the idea that you don't want your children to go through what you went through when you were growing up? Do you agree that we have to change this idea that our children should all be able to do remote jobs and get a degree and just be academic and not do dirty jobs? And do you agree which of these jobs are dirty? Let me know. So I hope this has been interesting for you. If you're watching me for the first time, drop down in the comments, tell me. I want to know if you're watching me for the first time. If you're not, why haven't you subscribed yet? Go up and like the video right now. You can like the video. Please like the video if you watched. And thank you for those that joined. And thank you for the discussion. See you on the next one. See you next week. Don't forget, ask this question. Ask yourself this question. Bye. Oh, I wanted to announce that I've started a new channel. It's called A Life Less Ordinary Over 50. A Life Less Ordinary Over 50. I'll drop down all the stuff you need in the description box and my email if you want to ask any questions. And as usual, you can find all my links down in the description box. Bye from Amanda. See you on the next one. Bye. Bye.